Greetings, fellow Earthlings. Today is January 1st, 2024, and this is episode 1 of MindMosaic, your guide to piecing together a clear, cohesive, and flourishing mind, one thought at a time. The subject that we're going to be diving into this month is education, and I know that might seem kind of meta for an educational series, but rest assured, it will all make sense in due time. So, let's get into it. The human brain has set us apart from every other species on Earth. It is what has given us the ability to make fire, cure illnesses, and explore other worlds. The brain inside your head is the same kind of brain responsible for all of humanity's achievements, both creative and destructive. That is why I believe it is our solemn obligation to become conscious of the power of the mind and to choose not to waste it on selfish desires or meaningless distractions. As we all know, knowledge is power, and as we all know, with great power comes great responsibility. So how about we maximize our human minds and put them towards the collective advancement of humankind? You in? Awesome. But first, you gotta do one thing. Reclaim your brain. Do you remember that dream you had? The big dream that you set aside because you were told it was unfeasible? The dream you gave up on? Yeah. I'm gonna need you to pull that dream out of the trash and start developing it. Figure out the details. If you don't have the know-how, research. Consider using the vast library of all recorded human knowledge at your fingertips. It has never been easier to realize a world-changing idea, but you've probably been programmed by the school system to believe it's impossible and nudged subtly in the direction of selling your time to a company. I have fallen for that one too. Alas, 90% of people internalize this dogma and conform, while only 10% forge their own path. So how do we avoid conformity? Like I said, reclaim your brain. Take your power back and use that extraordinary human mind of yours to propel yourself out of this monotonous cycle of mindless consumption and into a future full of infinite possibilities. If you don't know where to start, that's fine. This series, MindMosaic, is meant in part to teach you how to do this. So let's break it down. I'm going to go over 3 steps, and these 3 steps will become the keys for you to unlock the dormant power of your consciousness and begin your journey of infinite learning. But before we dive in, I want to underline an extremely valuable piece of information, and that is that learning is the single most productive way for you to be spending your time at this point in history. Learning is, after all, the first step to accomplishing anything. If you want to get jacked, you need to learn the basics of diet and lifting. If you want to make money, you need to learn how finance and business works. If you want to reclaim your brain, you need to learn how to learn. This idea, learning to learn, will be our focus for the rest of this month. Mostly in the next 3 episodes, but we'll go over the basics in this one so that you can start putting this into practice today. So, without further ado, let's discover the first key and talk mindsets. Mindset is a buzzword in the current zeitgeist, and for good reason. The key to success is mental. If you have the right attitude, you have set yourself up to succeed. Just look at the Wright brothers. Neither of them finished school, and yet they built the first airplane. How? By believing it was possible. And there are countless other examples of people who attribute their success to their attitude. So how do you get the right attitude? You craft it. How do you craft it? I think a good place to start is by transitioning from a fixed to a growth mindset. If you haven't heard of these terms, a fixed mindset holds the belief that one's abilities, intelligence, and talents are static traits that cannot be changed. A growth mindset, on the other hand, believes that one's abilities, intelligence, and talents can be developed with dedication, hard work, and learning, hence the word growth. People with a growth mindset tend to embrace challenges and are more open to learning from criticism, viewing it as an opportunity rather than a threat. This is a pretty genius concept because both of these mindsets are self-fulfilling prophecies, meaning that if you believe your mindset to be fixed, it will be. If you believe your mindset to be dynamic, it will be. Chinese philosopher Confucius put it best when he said, The man who thinks he can't and the man who thinks he can are both right. That is brilliantly said. While I won't tell you how you should think, it's pretty clear which one of these mindsets will take you further in life. Now let's move on to the second step to reclaim your brain, and that is embracing lifelong learning. With your new dynamic, growth-oriented mindset, you will soon realize the seemingly infinite realm of knowledge that lies in front of you. Aristotle once said, "The more you know you don't know." Yeah, exactly. I call this the microscope effect. The closer you look at a topic or system, the more complex it appears to be. We'll be talking a lot about this month because it can be a tremendous source of discouragement for people who pursue the prospect of attaining mastery in a given subject. So how do we deal with the microscope effect? Well, one of the best tricks is to reframe your perspective and to see mastery as a process rather than a goal. Learning is a lifelong process. The notion that you can become a master of a subject within a human lifetime is ridiculous. Even the word master is completely arbitrary. So if you hold yourself to this unattainable feat, you're bound to be disappointed. A better approach is to embrace the learning process as a form of ongoing mental evolution. So, always reaching higher states and never ceasing. This tactic is much more productive and meaningful than trying to learn everything and then being disappointed when you realize that you can't. Learning is a process. Mastery is a process. Growth is a process. Once you embrace the infinite realm of knowledge, the microscope effect will become your best friend. And that leads us nicely into the third and final step to reclaim your brain, and that is understanding the art of subtle detachment. What do I mean by this? Well, let's start here. Education has a bad rep. Most people complain about going to school, have tremendous anxiety around tests and exams, which leads to this unhealthy, stress-based studying. This stress approach is the worst way to learn, if you can even call it that. True learning is a gentle and fluid process. Pressure leads to overwhelm and thus burnout. You aren't going to learn anything if you associate the task of learning with anxiety. So what is the art of subtle detachment? Well, it involves releasing the pressure to succeed and the fear of failure by operating from your inner dwelling awareness. If you know anything about meditation, it's pretty much the same concept of passive observation, just applied to the learning process. Allow your conscious mind to serve as an inquisitive and curious explorer of the unknown, while doing your best to remain centered in the steadfast and unwavering presence of your unconscious mind. The goal is not to be disconnected from your learning. Rather, it is about strategic detachment from your emotional investment when it becomes overwhelming. With practice, the pressure and anxiety will disappear and you will become free to actually learn something. This is because you have created space in your mind. This is the key. Release the need and succeed. When you make this shift, you will begin to approach the learning process with a sense of ease, grace, and play. The whole grind set thing is wildly outdated. Learning and productivity should be a joyful experience. So start practicing today. All right, people, there you have it. Growth mindset, lifelong learning, subtle detachment. These 3 steps should serve as a blueprint for you to deconstruct limiting beliefs and establish a foundational mindset. This mindset will serve as a launch pad for you to begin your odyssey of learning and exploration. And with that, let's blast past the stratosphere. Start dusting off those big ideas, people. It's go time. Enjoy the rest of your day, and remember to reclaim your brain along the way. All right, see you in the next one, terrestrials. Peace.